Hello fellow YouTubers, Lionel Gecko here bringing you part 2 of how to side deck. Now this time we're going to be talking about a lot, and I do mean a lot, of continuous trap cards. I did already show you some of the big powerhouses like DNA Surgery, in my personal opinion, Anti-Spell Fragrance. We're going to go ahead and keep going with one of the harder to find cards, Royal Decree. Now as long as Royal Decree's face up on the field, no other trap cards can be played or activated. Now, Royal Decree, it is a trap, so it does slow you down a little bit, but it's continuous, so it's a long-lasting effect. If you can OTK your opponent after this card has been set for a turn, just go ahead and play it and try to go for game. Now, with the meta that's out right now, like Clifford's, Shaddolls, Burning Abyss, Necros, the top 4 so far, they don't really play a lot of traps except for maybe Clifford's. So this card should stay in your side deck. I main deck it because Necros and Cliffords are really expensive, so I don't really run into them. I run into a lot of like tier 2 and tier 3 decks, which play a lot more traps. But in case you're going to a tournament, somewhere where people actually did spend money to play the game, go ahead and put it in. Now, against pretty much every single deck that tries to be the very best, like no one ever was, I like playing the Curse of Darkness. Continuous trap card. Each time a spell card is activated, the controller of that spell card takes 1,000 points of damage. Now, I myself do run mostly spells. In fact, the only traps that I'm running are Ghost of a Grudge and Royal Decree, and that's in 2 different decks. But I do side in all of my hate, which are trap cards, to fight my opponents. Curse of Darkness. Let's say you have 3 on the field. The player that plays a spell card is going to take 3,000 points of damage. If you get them in the first hand, this means that either player is only going to be able to play 2 spells before they would game themselves by playing the third. Now, unless it's a Mystical Space Typhoon, in which case you took 3,000, the next Mystical Space you're taking 2,000, and let's say that you want to play that third, you take 1,000 more. It's going to be a very powerful hit to your opponent. More than likely make them unable to use Soul Charge. In fact, with these 3 on the field, I don't think your opponent would even want to play Soul Charge, and he pays 1,000 life points for each monster he wants to revive. So let's say he revives 3, that's 6,000 points of damage for 3 monsters. Alright. Now, for all of you Exceeds players, there's Gravity Bind, and as far as the spells goes, there's Level Limit Area B. Now these cards work for decks that base themselves on levels. Cliffords would be especially affected by this, Necrosses as well. Shaddolls, depending on what kind of hands they have. Burning Abyss, I think, is too low a level to really care about it. And they do exceed a lot more, so probably not. So with Gravity Bind, level 4 or higher monsters cannot declare an attack. And with Level Limit Area B, level 4 and higher monsters are forced into defense mode, and they cannot change their battle positions except with a card effect. So for all of you Exceeds players, it doesn't matter if you special summon your monsters in defense, as long as when you Exceed summon, it's in whatever position you needed them to be. Your Exceeds monsters will be unaffected because they don't have a level. Your opponent playing those meta decks are screwed until they can destroy these cards. Now, as far as players like myself that don't like Exceeds monsters, they like to synchro, there's And the Band Played On. As long as this card's on the field, neither player can have monsters of the same level on the field, which means Exceed summoning is not going to happen. Iron Wall, no cards can be removed from play. Now, this really helps against some of the top Necros plays. Burning Abyss, the way I've been seeing it played here, it removes from play a lot. So Imperial Iron Wall will stop the Burning Abyss. You can combine it with cards like Quillbolt Hedgehog and Plague Spreader Zombie. When they use their effects, they're banished once they're sent to the graveyard or removed from the field. But with Imperial Iron Wall, cards can be banished, so they go to your graveyard, which means you can use them again. In fact, Plague Spreader Zombie debuted in a zombie structure deck that had a Zombie World and Imperial Iron Wall in it. He wasn't in the deck. He was the tuner that the deck was supposed to play with. Alright, now we're dealing with some cards that require your opponent to attack in order to work. There's Begone Knave, which is a player that inflicts battle damage has to send their monster back to the hand. If a monster inflicts battle damage to a player, return the monster to its owner's hand. That's the exact text. So, let's say your opponent tries to attack you for X amount of damage. Begone Knave, if he's a fusion, if he's a ritual, if he's a synchro, there's going to have to be a lot of moves made to get that monster back onto the field. And Mirror Wall. Now, in order to keep it, you have to pay 2,000 life points per standby phase, but that is optional. So you can activate it during the battle phase, cut all of your opponent's monster's attack in half, as long as this card's face up on the field. And your opponent will probably take damage. He was attacking either a monster that he was stronger than, or you'll take less damage because you didn't have any monsters. During your standby phase, you don't pay the 2,000, it's destroyed. You didn't take that much damage, or you got rid of one of his monsters, you're good to go. Alright, now we're going to be talking remove from play. There's Nobleman of Crossout, extremely good against Shaddolls. You remove from play a set monster on the field, and if it's a flip effect monster, which I do believe every single one of the Shadow monsters is, unless they have that weird effect that when this card is flipped face up, that isn't really a flip effect. So you banish the monster that's on the field and every copy of that monster that's in both players' decks. So if you're running Shaddolls yourself, don't play this. If you're fighting against them, perfect card. Soul Release, good against, again, pretty much everyone in the meta right now. Remove those ritual monsters from the Necros, Clifforts. You can probably do something with that. I guess Pot of Riches probably helps them. So kill Pot of Riches. Shaddolls, it definitely hurts them, and Burning Abyss, it definitely hurts them too. And mass removing from play, Dimensional Fissure will remove from play all monsters that are sent to the grave. Macrocosmos will remove from play all cards that are sent to the grave. So those that mirror or kaleidoscope for the Necros isn't going to work anymore. The Shaddolls won't get their effects because they weren't sent to the graveyard. And the big powerhouse that I wanted to talk about when it comes to removing from play is Inferno Tempest. It's a quick play spell card. It's hard to use, but if you can use it, it's a really, really big hit to your opponent. And you, but you probably made the deck so it could play with this. Alright, so when you take 3,000 or more battle damage from one attack, you can activate this card. Remove all monsters in each player's deck and graveyard from play. All you both are left with are what's on your field and what's in your hand. So hopefully you have something like a Gorse or something that can protect you for that second hit. Well, Inferno Tempest can really help you out against the bigger plays. And you could try to combine it with Burial from a Different Dimension. Let's say you have a BLS in your hand. So you took that 3,000 point hit, then you played Burial from a Different Dimension, got some dark and light monster in your graveyard, and maybe something that you need in your grave like a... anything. I'm sorry, guys. What's this name? Necro Gardener. There you go. You get a Necro Gardener back into your graveyard. Get to summon BLS. Either banish whatever inflicted 3,000 points of damage, or do some wombo combos to get over it, like get an Armory Arm for game. Alright, let's go ahead and move on. Talking monsters now. There's Kinetic Soldier. Kind of helps for a matchup like against that mirror match with the Junk Doppel deck. A lot of warriors in it. Kinetic Soldier gains 2000 attack when it's fighting another warrior. You can combine them with DNA Surgery to make everybody a warrior, and he'll just have 2000 attack extra against everybody. Neospatian Grand Mole, really effective against pretty much everybody in the extra deck. Before damage calculation, he can return himself and the monster that it battled with back to the hand. For an extra deck monster, you gotta resummon it. It's gonna be a lot harder for most decks to resummon a monster from their extra deck, such as, well, let's say Bills in a deck that doesn't run a whole lot of dark monsters, dark tuners. There's Volcanic Queen, and there's Lava Golem, but I don't have them. Basically what they do is they tribute your opponent's monsters to tribute summon themselves to your opponent's side of the field. So if your opponent has a monster that you just can't deal with, you can tribute it to summon Volcanic Queen or Lava Golem to their field. And let's say the monster you tributed was Evil Swarm Ophion, you can special summon any level 5 or higher monsters. Well, now it's not there anymore, and they can't really respond to it because it's a summoning. It's kind of one of those weird like condition things. So they could solemn warning it and destroy it, but the tribute was a cost, so the monster's gone. And you can make your plays from there. Just don't normal summon because you already used it up. As far as chaos plays go for the Junk Doppel deck, this level 1 machine Morphtronic Lantron, it's a light. What I'm talking about with side decking this or Turbo Synchron, it's for that 3-card Quasar combo with Quick Draw Synchron, Synchron Explorer, and Level Leader. During that combo, Road Warrior is gonna summon one level 1, either warrior or machine monster from your deck. So in your usual Junk Doppel deck, it's gonna be a machine, unknown Synchron. But you usually run 2 of him. You could take 1 out to put either a Turbo Synchron or Morphtronic Lantron. If you're gonna go for Dark Simorgh, it's Turbo. If you want more lights available for your Chaos plays, it's Morphtronic Lantron. Or you can run a whole bunch of light monsters from the Lightsworn build and not bother with this guy. I'm just trying not to mill that many cards. Right, there's Battle Fader. He's not that popular anymore. Most people like Dragodia. But he'll negate an attack and end the battle phase. And he's level 1 on the field, which a lot of people can use. For instance, with those level 1 tuners to go into Formula Synchron. The end of Anubis is the end of a lot of decks and nobody uses them. So, the end of Anubis is a level 6 fiend with 2500 attack, dark. While this card is face up on the field, all effects of spell, trap, and monster cards that target a card or cards in the graveyard or that activate in the graveyard are negated. So any card that remotely talks about the graveyard pretty much can't use this effect at all. So those really big Necros plays don't work, those Shadow effects don't go through, my Junk Doppel deck is completely dead. Even a lot of Gravekeeper's effects just don't work. At 2500 attack and the dark, you can find some way to protect them. He's 0 defense, there's a lot of cards that help with that. So that might be a side deck that you want to run. Perhaps in a deck that runs Vanity's Emptiness, so you can further lock your opponent. There's also the Grave Protector, which is pretty much best against Shadows. Now he's a level 4 Dark Fiend, 0 attack, 2000 defense. You can use the equip spell Heart of Clear Water to protect him a lot more. As long as this card remains face up on the field, monsters that are destroyed as a result of battle are returned to the owner's deck instead of being sent to the graveyard. The deck is then shuffled. So you attack the face down Shadow monster. He wanted to use his effect for the graveyard because it's what he needed to play his combos further. He's forced to use the flip effect because he's not being sent to the graveyard. Also, monsters that would resolve by being sent to the graveyard, like a Pyramid Turtle or OCG or Sangan, stuff like that, wouldn't work either. That's gonna be it for this video. Remember to subscribe to the Synchro Extremist and to myself, and don't forget to join Speedy Steve's Yu-Gi-Oh group. That's the Synchro Extremist personal group where you can get a lot of information and discuss with over 500 people the best ways to either play a deck or defeat a deck. This is Lionel Gecko signing out.